So tell me, do you got some crappy knives that you just never carry anymore? Because I literally have a drawer full, which is why I'm going to show you 10 of the best $50 budget knives that I found on Amazon. Make sure that you stick around to see the bonus knife at the end because it's a good one. Now, in this price range, you can expect to see more knives with like Sandvik steel and Nitro V and a little bit less of D2. All right, let's get started with number 10 from Besttech. This is the Texel. It's got a 3¼ inch D2 blade. You know, this just doesn't get much attention anymore. I don't know why, but it's still one of my all-time favorite budget Besttechs. And the action on this is just, man, it's incredible in both directions. But I especially enjoy opening this knife because it's practically impossible for me to get it to fail. Of course, the Texel is a production folder it was actually designed by a custom knife maker. Number 9 is going to be the Airite from Cold Steel. It's got a 3½ inch AUS 10A blade. Just like the name implies, this is lightweight with some super thin G10 scales. Even though it's a backlock, the action is, action's pretty good. I mean, I can easily flick it open and even close it. Look at that, all one-handed. Sitting at number 8, I've got the Hawk from QSP. It's a 3.23 inch 14C 28N blade. Now mine actually has Vera wood scales, but the version that fits in this price range has micarta. This has been around for a few years now, but when it was first released, it really stood out because there just wasn't a ton of knives out there that had a flipper, thumb studs, and a forward finger choil. Finally, a blade I don't have to keep wiping off in between every take. At number 7, I've got the Kershaw Heist. It's a 3¼ inch D2 blade. It's a member of Kershaw's new family of Duralock knives, which really it just features their version of crossbar lock, or if you could like to call them an axis. Now, even though they're all similar knives, I went and I chose this one over the Covalent and the Iridium because, well, I like that wider blade shape and the textured GFN scales. And on top of all that, this thing even costs a little bit less. Number 6 is the Hectare from CJRB. It has a 3.15 inch AR RPM 9 blade. As you know, a hectare is a unit of measurement for a surface area. So I think it's a pretty clever name for this knife because they did give it a wider blade profile. So yeah, they increased the surface area. I like their version of the crossbar lock. I mean, it doesn't stick. It's, super easy to operate, and it even has it's got some really good spring tension. For me, it's easier to middle finger flick this blade open than it is to, go ahead and use my thumb because, well, as you can see, that hole, it's partially obstructed, and I'm really not sure why they did that. I wish they would have left a 90-degree edge at the top of that oval, to kind of help grab your thumb when opening it up, but yeah, it just kind of feels like it's chamfered. Overall, I really do like this knife, but with thumb studs, man, this thing would have totally been a home run. At number 5, I've got the mini Beluga from Petrified Fish. It's a 2.99 inch 14C 28N blade. It's hard to believe sometimes that Petrified Fish knives that, they fit in this budget category because, well, most of their stuff, it just kind of looks like it should cost a lot more. I have the G Mascus version, but you can also get this with G10 scales, which that'll save you a couple bucks. Now, I'm admittedly not the best with front flippers, so, I just pretty much always use that fuller to open the blade. Number 4, I got the drop point version of the SAiv Brazen. It's a 3.46 inch 14C 28N blade. I prefer the drop point, but hey, if you don't, it's also available with a D2 Tanto blade, or for even a few more dollars, you can get they've now got a button lock Tanto version. And oh man, did they tune that detent just right, because, well, the action it's great. Whether you're using the thumb studs or the flipper, it doesn't matter. Number 3 is going to be the Raccoon from Vased. It has a 3¼ inch 14C 28N blade. Oh, and just so you know, Vased, they're currently running a sale until March 8th. 2024, so where you're going to get an extra 10% off, when you buy any 2 of their knives, and you can do that either from their website or Amazon. Out of all the different knives they sell, the Raccoon, it has to be my favorite, but specifically, I like the button lock version the most. But what's great about this knife is that if you don't, it's also available with a crossbar lock. I mean, you can even get this thing with a sheep's foot blade instead, which I don't know about you. I think that's pretty awesome of them to offer. I really wish that more knife companies would do that. Number 2, I've got the Wharncliffe version of the SAiv Elementum. It has it's a 2.97 inch Nitro V blade. They could have easily just slapped on a D2 blade, just called it a day, because you don't usually get Nitro V steel on knives in this price range. So by doing that, and they turned this into just an incredible bargain. Not only did they go ahead and change the blade shape, they also added thumb studs, which, man, I am really excited about, because I don't know, I just think that they should have been there all along. Now, another thing you'll notice is that in the in the closed position, you can see that blade, it sticks out just like a little bit farther than the drop point does down here at the bottom. All right, here it is at number 1. I've got from Migon. This is the Moyo. It's a 3.5 inch 14C 28N blade. Now that is a beautiful liner lock knife, and I think it looks more expensive than it actually is, but hey, I guess that's kind of their thing, because, most of their knives, they look like they just don't belong in the budget category. Since this has a thumb hole deployment, that handle, you know what, it's slightly thicker than I would like, but, it's certainly not a deal breaker. And that 2-position pocket clip, that is actually titanium. And you know what, if you're not feeling that black coated blade, no problem, because they do offer some with like a satin finish, and they even have versions with a crossbar lock. Yeah, I got to get that one. All right, as promised, here's the bonus knife. It's going to be from SAiv. It's the Banneret. It has a 3.48 inch Nitro V blade. I like this one because it almost kind of reminds me of, I don't know, what do you think? Like a giant Barlow. It has a small flipper, a really nice looking spear point blade, and a beefy bolster lock. Now, if you're a millionaire, and you got some extra money to spend, check out this next video up on the screen where I rank 60 of my favorite $60 knives.